Hi, this is Bishop Craig in Lansing, and this is take one for the week of April 6th. Peace be with you. So I will be on Zoom a good bit this week. On Monday, I have Zoom meetings concerning two congregations in transition, one with Pastor Bright and the other with Pastor Sullivan. On Tuesday, we will be in person. Pastor Chrissy and I are going to Augrey to meet with the leadership of St. Paul's to talk a bit about their future. So please pray for that meeting. On Wednesday is Synod staff. And on Thursday, I have two more Zoom meetings, one with the Conference of Bishops and the other to talk about Catholic preaching. I'm doing a bit of consulting work, so I'm excited to do that. And then Friday and Saturday right now are pretty quiet. As the Synod Council had a very productive meeting on Saturday. Now not all things are not in place, but things are in place. So much of my energy now turns toward preparing the script I use every year and details for the Synod Assembly, which is a mere 6 weeks away. But closer than the Synod Assembly, on Sunday is Palm or Passion Sunday, and we begin Holy Week. In many congregations, we begin Palm Sunday worship with the procession of palms, and we hear the story of Jesus entering Jerusalem. And then when we get to the gospel, we read the passion of our Lord through his death and burial. Now, in the Gospel of Luke, there's a lot of stuff, like, I don't know, 4 chapters maybe, between where the triumphal entry of Jesus, which is an ironic term, ends, and where the passion narrative, preparing for the Passover, begins. So this weekend, I took about 45 minutes and listened from the entry into Jerusalem through the death of Jesus. And there's the stuff in between really flavors the passion of Jesus. Because while we want to make it spiritual, and it is, it's also civic, political, and very about institutions and our world. And so, for example, Jesus both weeps over Jerusalem and predicts the destruction, foretells the destruction of Jerusalem. Jesus cleanses the temple, and Jesus challenges the scribes and the Pharisees. Jesus is going after, if you will, the religious and the government institutions and establishments. And so for me, two things are pretty important this year in the Garden of Gethsemane. First, an angel comes from heaven to strengthen Jesus. So Jesus needs and receives divine help and strength to do what he needs to do. And secondly, when Judas comes with a band of soldiers and the chief priests and lanterns and swords, Jesus says to Judas, you come to betray me with a kiss? Day after day I was with you in the temple, he says to these people, and you didn't lay hands on me. And now you come to take me as if I'm a rebel. And then Jesus says, but this is your hour and the hour of darkness. So while this is a spiritual exercise, yes, it is also a very worldly exercise. It's about life in this world. And we have been through a couple of hours of darkness. I remember preaching on Palm Sunday from this chair during the pandemic and saying Jesus, if he was coming in today would be going to the hospitals. So I encourage people, if they need to do something, to put a coat on their porch. This year, I would say that if Jesus was coming in on a colt or a donkey, Jesus would be going to the White House, and Jesus would be going to the Congress. And knowing this, I think I understand Judas a little better. I think Judas is trying to find a way to capitulate with the powers at work in the world. And Jesus is not going to go there. Read the passages, read the chapters between his entering Jerusalem and the beginning of the Passion narrative when they prepare the Passover. Some of the teachings are pretty unsettling. So Jesus is with us when it seems to be the hours of the authorities and the hour of darkness. And for many people who are afraid, who are worried, who feel under attack, who feel threatened, this is the hour in which we live. And it is good to know that God in Jesus Christ comes to us, and Jesus, even in the seeming defeat of the cross, will win, will rise, God will reign. And in a time when the vulnerable and the weak seem to be being discarded, Jesus on the cross cares for them. So I invite you, as you prepare for Holy Week, to spend some time in the chapters between the triumphal entry and the beginning of the Passion narrative, and let those chapters inform what this Holy Week is truly all about. I'm going to just reach beyond next Sunday on the 14th at St. Peter in Battle Creek. We will have a service for rostered ministers. It'll be at 11 o'clock in the morning, followed by lunch, in which we bless oil and renew our ordination vows, and I preach and pray with rostered ministers. So if you are a rostered minister, please take note of that, and if you have time and inclination, please join us at St. Peter in Battle Creek. I am Bishop Craig, and this is Take One, and may the peace of Christ be with you always. See you in Holy Week. Take care.